Hey everyone, it's Zen with this week's Dragon Ball Super Fusion World Top 5 Decks of the Week, the weekly series where I showcase the top 5 best meta decks in the Fusion World client. But before we get into it, if you could awaken that like button and subscribe, you'll be helping out the channel tremendously and staying up to date with all things Fusion World. And with that, let's get started with this week's best set 3 decks to use in the client, starting with the still dominant yet slowly decline of Jiren. Now, what I mean by that is you're not seeing Jiren in the top 4 or even the number 1 spot, which we saw in first week. However, it is falling all the way to the 5th spot now. Still a very strong deck to use in the ladder, but I guess the biggest problem is the surgence of blue players with a bottom decking, as well as a bunch of green players now. We have a couple new green decks in today's top 5 decks of the week. But yeah, let's go over this Jiren deck. You have your staples here, your 4 copies of your 1-draw Piccolo, your 4 Margaritas, which is great to, close out games with your Vegeta here, or even your double striker. But a couple new cards in this variation of Jiren the Great. See what I did there? Funny. Anyway, this variation of a deck list has a Hellas here, which is really good going into the mirror match for Jiren, or honestly good to go into anything that has a battle card with over 30k power. You instantly give them a minus 20k, and you can swing into them, waste their card advantage from their hand with combos, and just do stuff like that, Another really good card here is the extra card Tournament of Power, which honestly works really well with our leader Jiren in the fact that you don't have to waste cards from your hand. You can hold on to your combos and just use that effect to maybe go up to a 30k body and protect yourself for one turn. We also have our 4 copies of the SR Jiren, which helps us draw, our 4 Cauliflas to add early on-game pressure. We also have a couple copies of Hit here to help us self-awaken and damage reduced by 5k. That synergizes really well with the Son Gohan that does a minus 15k damage reduction. We have 4 copies of Fu, I believe, yep, and then 3 copies of the Kato Pesla. I said it correct this week. This is the week, you guys. I pronounced it correctly. And then 4 copies of Rumshi. But that's not all. We also have 2 copies of the Sphere of Destruction, still a very strong extra card. Not my personal favorite, because you can only use it when they have 4 or more life. However, it's still a very good card to have in your arsenal. And that's pretty much this week's Jiren the Great deck list that you can take on ladder and win some games with. Now let's check out the 4th best deck of the week, and it's actually Beerus. Our boy Beerus is back. I don't know if it's because of I don't know if you saw the 3rd deck. I don't know if it's because that leader is more relevant in the ladder right now, but I have been seeing so many freaking Beeruses. But yeah, let's go over this leader's deck list. You have your 1-drop Piccolos that draw, your Margaritas. You're going to see the same things as the Jirens, your Cauliflas. Now we have 4 copies of our Krillin here, which is really good to help us self-awaken and has that neat effect to become a 20k body on the board. 2 of the Kato Peslas, 4 copies of the Son Gohan Adolescence, 4 copies of this amazing Beerus. Now, if you don't know what this Beerus does, it's actually pretty busted. Let's pretend you have 4 energy on your side of the board. You play this, you still have 1 energy. You can swing with it, so you attack anything you want. You use the effect, you use that final energy to then destroy this card and bring out your 5-cost Beerus to wipe everything on their side of the board, and you'll get this, you can swing again. You essentially get 2 swings. It's actually so strong. And then we have 2 copies of the Vegeta here, Tournament of Power, 2 copies of the Ultra Instinct Son Goku, which is really strong in this deck because you can damage reduce with your Beerus leader and then use this card to get a quick, cheeky life from your opponent's side. And then we have our 1 Kefla here, 2 copies of Hellas, which is really good going into a Jiren, right? That way you can just pretty much easily remove their SR Jirens with your leader's ability. We have 4 Rumshis, 3 copies of our Double Striker, 2 Tournament Powers, and our Super Combos. This is kind of the staple Beerus that's doing very well currently in the ladder, but you guys let me know what other cards you think Beerus could run with. Honestly, I think it could do really well with almost anything, but this has been kind of the staple for this week. Now let's look at the brand new number 3rd spot, Amazing Rise of Gohan Hyper Ramp. I'm pretty sure this deck list actually won a competitive event recently, so there's that. And on top of that, we're seeing this so much on the ladder. Not only is it a green leader, which has the ability to ramp extremely well, aka the hyper ramp name, but this deck specifically does a couple things really good. You have your draws, you have your searchers right here, your Son Gohan that could literally search for pretty much anything in this deck list, let's be honest, or Chi-Chi, which can help you find your Selku, your Gohans right here, not your future Gohan unfortunately, but also this Son Goku, which if you don't know, if your leader is Son Gohan, which it is, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards with a cost of 5 or less. That means double strikers, that means SR Vegetas, that means Jirens, and then just ramp them to their energy, remove them from the board, they're gone. And you could also ramp this card, so it helps you ramp and it helps them ramp. Now, if they don't have anything on their side of the board, you can still play this card and ramp for free without helping them ramp. However, I probably want to hold on to that value of removing a 5 cost or less card on their side. We have 2 copies of the Trunks here, which is pretty good with, of course, our Son Gohan Future. But that's not all. This Son Gohan Future can essentially play a 3 cost for free when you have it on the board. So you can play your Trunks, or you can even play this Goku and take advantage of that the following turn. I really like that. Or you can use the other ability where it destroys a 3k on the opponent's side. We have 2 copies of Selku, because let's be honest, if you can get it on the board without it being removed, awesome. But the chances are you're going into Beerus or something like that, and it's not going to stay. So, you know, we'll just have 2 copies. We don't want to waste too much room with that. With 3 copies of the Son Gohan, the KO effect. 2 double striking androids, which is really good. 1 full board clear for 5 drops or less. This is a very strong card. I don't think the winning deck list had this in their deck, but for me, I feel like you definitely need at least 1 copy of this. This can save an entire game. For instance, if you're going into an android, a green versus green, and your opponent's an android, and they built an entire board of androids, sometimes this is the only answer to remove them. So yeah, definitely need that in the deck list. We have our super combos here. We have 2 copies of Cell, which adds to our life while also removing cards on the opponent's side of the field. 4 Brolys, because that's just our big boy, we need him. 3 Gigantic Meteors, 1 Big Bang Attack, and 3 Destructive Strengths, which you're almost always going to want to have early on in your hand. But yeah, this is a very fascinating and pretty exciting deck list to use on the ladder. Now, my biggest issue is, I'll be honest guys, I played this 3 times in a row, and every single time I queued up against a Beerus. I only won 1 of those matchups. It is extremely hard going into Beerus, but honestly has a pretty good time into everything else, unless your Beerus just draws bricks, but that's just not the case for me. All right, moving on to the number 2nd best deck of the week, and it's actually King Vegeta. It's dropping. This is my little variation of Vegeta because we've been seeing so many freaking Vegetas on the ladder, and I was thinking, yo, the crit Vegeta is pretty good, but how many times do Vegeta players actually play their 2-drop critical Vegetas and then try to self-awaken? The strategy is you don't want to self-awaken, right? So instead, when you're going into a mirror match and their whole thing is about bottom decking and removing your cards, why not play a card like this 2-cost Zamasu that can't be removed from the battle area? It's pretty strong. You just leave them there. You don't even have to swing with them, build your board with them, kind of like the Majin Buu. And yeah, once you're ready, go crazy and swing. I think this is a better variation in my opinion. We also have 2 copies of the Bounce 3-cost Trunks that synergizes with the My Future really well to help you get rid of 5 costs, 6 costs really, and just bounce them right back to their hand. I've definitely won a few games with that going into Android. They play their double Androids and I just bounce them right back. And now they don't have a big body on the board, and if they want to, they have to replay it next turn. But yeah, this is my variation of the King Vegeta deck list for blue that I am having a ton of fun with. You guys let me know what you think. But now let's check out the number 1 deck list. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it's exactly the same. I actually did a quick change up, a nice little switch changeroo over here, if you guys can tell. I just added a single cell here. It is an Android, so it works. If you get it sent to your drop early on and you can't use it, it is what it is. But it's pretty nice to have a card that gives you life and also removes 2 cards on your opponent's side while being an Android that synergizes with everything else. So as soon as you awaken your leader, try to play this when you can. You get a free life back, you pop 2 cards, and you're just building your board, especially with all these other cards that ramp for you extremely well. This is what I've been playing. I don't know my exact win rate with this deck list, but I'm definitely having a bit more consistency. I think there were 2 games where I got to use this. One game where Beerus just crit and sent it to my drop. However, with this card's ability, I get to just recycle it. So I'm still kind of taking advantage of it. But yeah, androids are still strong. Don't need a single set 3 card, and they are dominating. Honestly, I was debating on putting the ramp cell in here just to be like, yo, we have a set 3 card, but it is what it is. We don't really need it. And there you guys have it. That is this week's top 5 decks of the week for Dragon Ball Super Fusion Worlds, the digital client. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.